Dutch in a yellow boat to the left of your picture on the Berkshire station. And the USA, away they go on the Buck station. Cunningham and Fuller in the white boat. These will be challenging conditions, watching how they get away from Temple Island in this first heat, the Double Sculls Challenge Cup. First semi-final of the day. Lots more to follow. And so I guess if you're a boat on the water later, you will try and get some clues as to the conditions that they're facing. It may, of course, change as the day goes on, but it will be interesting to see what happens in this first semi-final.
That's right. A bit of breeze out there on the water, which we know will build throughout the day. So no doubt the crews racing later will be looking with quite some interest this morning to see if they can read what's happening on the course. There's been a bit of rain, and of course a bit of wind makes for swirly and unpredictable conditions, but certainly you'll get a few clues, as you say, Tim, by watching these early races. But a great start here with both of these crews, the USA closest to us in the Buck station and the Dutch on the far side in the Buck station.
Well, if you want an indication of how fast these doubles go, that jogger's struggling to keep up. So an early lead on the Berkshire station for Meijssen and Van Bohemen of the Netherlands. Not a substantial lead, and that will be part of the races today. We expect tighter races as the week goes on. The races tend to close in, don't they? Because obviously to get to this stage you're a class act, so you're not going to see too many one-sided processions today, because it's semi-finals day. Everyone who's got here will be very competitive.
That's right, and even making it into the draw is a huge achievement. We had more than 400 crews contesting the qualifiers on Friday last week, and only 133 progressing through to the main draw. So certainly a tough ask just to get into the main draw at Henley, but certainly on semi-finals day, this is the kind of matchup that we'd be used to seeing. A very tight race here just with the Dutch, with the narrowest of leads over Cunningham and Fuller from the USA. And we've got a huge international contingent this year, Tim. We've got about 200 international crews, more than 70, a record from the United States of America, from their HP crews or their high performance crews all the way down to school and club and college crews as well. So strong international interest in this Olympic year at Henley Royal Regatta.
Just looking at the Dutch double, who are leading marginally. They won the double at the Holland-Becker earlier on this year, racing the double. We saw them at the Poznan World Cup, finishing 12th there, and they're part of the development squad, so we could be looking at this Dutch double in Los Angeles in 4 years' time. The development continues, but just looking at the way this race has shaped up, Cunningham and Fuller have had a good quarter mile there, and they're now into the lead. They've done well. The Americans on the Buck station, they've moved into the lead.
Yeah, so a good push there, well timed from the Americans, really patient with the fast starting Dutch, and have really stayed composed, and now through the middle section of the race started to make their moves. So really decisive move from the Americans, who have moved themselves into an ever so slight lead, but we can see the Dutch responding now. They're taking their stroke rate up and they're moving. They don't want to let the Americans get away from them in this all-important middle section of the race. So we're going to have a cracking race unfolding down the track here between the Dutch and the Americans.
Yeah, boiling up really well, this race. Just looking how it unfolds. We've got plenty of the race to continue, but the lead is toing and froing already. I don't think it's going to be much in this. And just looking at the potential marginal advantages. Cunningham and Fuller were on the water at 2:10 yesterday, winning their heat, and the Meijssen Van Bohemen boat on the water at midday yesterday. So they've had a couple of hours extra to recover, the Dutch. I know it's only a couple of hours, but it all helps. And they beat the Dutch rivals yesterday as well. The Dutch boat that you can see on the Berkshire station, the yellow boat that's trailing now by 3/4 of a length. They had an all-Dutch match-up yesterday. Cunningham and Fuller beating the German double yesterday. And now moving ahead, the Americans. This is a quality move from Cunningham and Fuller. Stretching away. Katie Cunningham and Casey Fuller. A good season already, but this could be a finals appearance on the horizon for them if they can keep the second half of this race together. There they are, the lead boat, the Americans. Just a little glance across from Katie Cunningham in the bow seat. Let's have a look at the Dutch boat. What have they got left? Yeah, another glance across to track their progress. They've got a lot of work to do here. First half of the race, right in it, but the Americans have burnt them off for now as they move in front of the regatta enclosure. You see a bit of a breeze, a bit of a crosswind. It was a strong headwind when I arrived a couple of hours ago. The water pretty still as the Americans power on towards the finish line. And they'll be very keen to hold that lead. Find out who they'll be against. Either of these boats into the final tomorrow. We've got the other semi-final in just under an hour's time.
So it's the first time racing at Henley Regatta for the Americans, but good experience in this Dutch boat as we see a little look come across there, desperately trying to see if they can get back onto terms with the Americans.
So there you can see in the bow seat for the Americans, Katie Cunningham will be very pleased with how this race is unfolding. Like all of these races we'll see today, to get into a final is a big thing at Henley Royal Regatta. Previous winners of the Double Sculls Challenge Cup, John Collins, Graham Thomas combination in 2019. Last year we had a Spanish double winning this event, and it looks like we could have Americans in the final, but there is a burst here from the Dutch. They've really put on a huge effort there in front of stewards. Will it be enough to get back into contention? I think the Americans got it under control, as they have, but it was a fine effort from the Dutch to get back level. So the last few strokes for the American double here, Cunningham and Fuller. They're still being hounded by the Dutch right to the end. They've been made to work, but the Americans safely through to the final of the Double Sculls Challenge Cup. Cunningham and Fuller, through they go. And Sarah, that was a very well-organised performance from them in that semi-final.
Yeah, well-executed race from the Americans. Patient, as we said, in the early stages when the Dutch were fast starting, but really well executed through the middle there with a couple of moves to take this race away from the Dutch crew.